Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. In today's segment, I want to discuss with you the risk for pandemic coming up in this next flu season. That would be flu season 2017 going into 2018. I have to count. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting so old at this point. I still think that I'm like 12 years younger. So all the things aside, I want to talk with you guys about the recent data regarding H7N9, which is the avian flu coming out of China. They are facing right now an unprecedented fifth wave of this H7N9, where, according to their data, and if it's the Chinese government, you know that it's not going to be, how shall I say this, forthrightly open to the public. So about 746 people, last time I checked, have had positive IDs for H7N9, and in those cases, 40% of people have died from it. One of the things that we notice as a pre-assault cue, if you will, before a pandemic emerges historically, is the presence of a very, very nasty, virulent form of a disease spreading rapidly and rather catastrophically in the animal kingdom. Throughout the Middle Ages, there was the horse flu. Recently, we've seen this with the swine flu, pig flu, definitely in the early part of the 1900s, of course, with the global flu pandemic. But what we're seeing now is the bird flu, H7N9. And the sort of oddly disarming thing about this is that we've been hearing about this for several years now. And just because we've been hearing about this for several years doesn't mean that there isn't a very legitimate concern and a potentially very legitimate threat. We are, population-wise, we've increased about sevenfold since the turn of the 1900s. That's not saying that human beings aren't good, but we are experiencing a more densely packed, crowded planet than we ever have before, with the capability to spread disease like we never have before. We have mass transit that in the span of 20 hours can bring someone from the deepest recesses of Southeast Asia and plant them squarely in the middle, the Midwest of the United States. And this is something that we have never seen before. So when you look at all these factors together, we have an increased risk for a legitimate pandemic. And we have, in many cases, when we're looking at all these little ducks lining up ahead of time, ducks, no pun intended, with the avian flu, we're starting to see a lot of potential issues that could come up. And so for me, the way that I look at this and the way that I want to share with you guys just to be prepared ahead of time is to first off have your nutrition squared away. And this isn't something that a lot of people necessarily think about as being high speed and all of this stuff like, oh yeah, nutrition, really uber sexy, light myself on fire, roll out of a building, and then go ahead and make sure that my B vitamins are squared away. Nobody thinks like that, okay? But it's true, it's legitimate. And when you look at the problems that we have here, definitely in the United States, but in Western diets in general, you are looking at significant nutrient deficits over time, calorie surpluses, which make us fat and not necessarily better nourished. All of these things set people up for being more at risk for being susceptible to the spread of disease in any time, let alone in a pandemic. So one of the things that I recommend people do is to definitely get your nutrition squared away. One of the things that I recommend and have recommended for a long time is Green Vibrance. I'll put a link in the description box below. I do not get paid by them, although I maybe should, but I do not get paid by them. I pay the same way that you do with Green Vibrance, and I wholeheartedly endorse and recommend their products, not only for supplementing people's nutrition, but also for building up the really important gut bugs in their body that help to keep disease in check. And yes, it does taste like lawn trimmings. I will own that one. I usually mix it with a couple bananas and avocado and some pineapple juice and a Vitamix. That's how I do that. So I would definitely recommend that for you guys. But also, folks, let's be honest about the situation here. We have more and more people now, definitely in the millennial bracket, who are congregating and aggregating in urban centers, and that is asking for trouble in a pandemic. In fact, when you look at, for instance, the history of epidemics in Great Britain, which is an old school publication prior to the knowledge of germ theory, this is by the Oxford Press. It's a pretty spendy set of books there, but I recommend it. You see over and over again that government policies encouraging people to be crowded in poorly ventilated areas, this just sets people up for failure when it comes to the spread of disease. So we've established here that in recent weeks, we've had new data come out about not only the incidence, which is the overall amount of infections, but overall the death rate inside of there, which is 40% out of 750-ish people. That's not good, y'all. That's not good at all. And that's just of their verified cases. So I see this. I see that we've had a sevenfold global increase in population since the turn of the 1900s. And honestly, when you look at the turn of the 1900s, there's a couple of main key factors responsible for this. Cheap food supply, electricity, and modern plumbing. So it stands to reason that if you have a J-curve increase in human population with the presence of those aforementioned 3 key points, as well as others, of course, but I'm going macro here on this. If you have a J-curve increase in human population directly related to electricity, public plumbing, advancements, and then also the cheap available calories and nutrition relatively. In the absence of those things, it stands to reason that you're going to see a proportionately catastrophic decline in population, secondary to many different things. But folks, I've said this in class before. I said this in class the last weekend. The 3 factors that are universally present across the span of human history are war, famine, and disease. One usually begets the other. It's just a matter of time before we start cycling into this. We have lived for the past couple of generations in a veritable bubble of insulated well-being. Throughout human history, rarely have people been able to look forward to lifespans the way in which we have with all these public services and this, that, and the other. It's a bubble, you know, it's a bubble. It's going to correct. It is going to correct. It's just a matter of time. And it could very well be that a pandemic is one of the things that kicks off the next correction. I don't know, but I know that for me and my family and my people, we're going to be prepared for this, Lord willing, as best as we can. Nutrition is a big part of it. N95 respirators are another good thing to consider. But folks, you really need to invest in your knowledge and in your ability to diagnose, to problem solve, to form differentials in your mind based on what you're seeing versus what it could be. And this takes skill. This takes knowledge to do that. So I'd encourage you to seek out training. I teach classes really all around the country, but for the next year, I'm planning to actually stay more local here. I'm not going to be coming out west in 2018. May not be coming out west for the foreseeable future. That's probably the case for many different reasons. My schedule is going to be confined mostly to Tennessee and to the Southeast. So if you're looking to train, go to the website, thepatriotnurse.com, and you can check out the full schedule there. But guys, it is a real concern of mine based on the data that I'm seeing here. And just because it's been circulating doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's the same thing with tornadoes. People think because there's tornado warnings and watches that the big one's never going to hit. That's just foolishness, absolute foolishness and willful ignorance of the facts. So don't be like that. Be prepared. Definitely pay attention to your nutrition, guys, but you got to invest. You have to invest in yourself and your ability to problem solve. I hope it was helpful for y'all. If you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe to me, Patriot Nurse. You can also like me on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'd love to see you out in class. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later.